all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business.
Good morning and thanks for listening in. This is the daily morning update from Bloomberg Quint and I'm Alex Matthew. Today is the 9th of June. The World Bank has joined a host of international agencies to cut its forecast on India's growth. It is projected that India's economy will shrink by 3.2% in the current financial year. The good news is that it expects the economy to bounce back in 2021. In regulatory news, the Reserve Bank of India has proposed a new set of rules governing the sale of stressed assets, which give lenders greater flexibility in the pricing of these loans and deciding who they are sold to. The draft guidelines say that any lender seeking to sell stressed assets will need to do so under a board-approved policy. Lenders can consider all assets classified as doubtful assets for the purposes of sale. The RBI's draft also suggests that the buyer of the stressed asset need not be a financial entity. Read more on that story on the website bloombergquint.com. In more regulatory news, the RBI is proposing to carve out differential guidelines for residential mortgage-backed securities and set the stage for their listing. That's according to a new draft framework for securitization of standard assets that was issued yesterday. In the banking sector, CRISIL has projected that the loan growth of Indian banks will slow to 0 to 1% in the current financial year, down from 6.1% last year, which was already a multi-decade low. Corporate borrowings, which account for half of the total credit, will be the worst hit, and loans to individuals will decelerate to low single digits from mid-teens in the past few years, according to the agency. The government has allowed Indian startups to issue sweat capital within 10 years from their incorporation or registration, amending the rules to empower them to help attract and retain key talent. The earlier limit for issuing sweat equity was 5 years. In the oil market, Saudi Arabia's energy minister has said that the kingdom's extra curbs that came over and above those of the OPEC Plus supply reductions will stop at the end of this month. That's after the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies reached a deal over the weekend under which they will withhold 9.6 million barrels a day from the market in July. Prices fell yesterday and they recovered this morning. Brent was trading at $41.2 to the barrel last I checked. In other international news, the World Health Organization has said that transmission of the coronavirus, that's the COVID-19, by people who aren't showing symptoms is very rare, as infections surpassed 7 million globally. There's also a study that indicates that a person's blood group can affect whether they are susceptible to the disease. Genetic testing company 23andMe said, based on tests on over 750,000 people, that those with the O blood group are especially protective against the virus that causes COVID-19. In international markets, the S&P 500 in the US has wiped out its losses for 2020 on account of the ongoing massive rally that's been fueled by optimism that the economy will pick up quickly once it reopens fully. The Dow gained 1.7% while the Nasdaq climbed 1.1%. In the Asia-Pacific region, 2 of the 3 early risers have started in the red. And with that, it's over to Agam Vakil for the trade setup for the day in India. Good morning, Agam. How are we looking here in India?
Good morning, Alex, and good morning, listeners. Well, when one might expect some amount of consolidation in the benchmark indices, it seems that we're still likely to see more strength coming in based on the SGX Nifty futures, which is currently trending higher by as much as 80 points. So we can expect a positive opening this morning. But let's talk about some earnings, and right at the top we have Titan Company, where its revenues declined 5% for the fourth quarter and net profit was up 21%, which was a surprise, coming well ahead of consensus expectations. There was a substantial improvement in margins as well, to a certain extent aided by the Ind AS 116 standards, but we must also remember that there were lower corporate taxes as well as higher than expected revenues, which did play out for Titan Company, specifically in the watches segment, where the revenues were higher than expectations, and the jewelry segment, which did see a dip of 5.8%, which was in line with what the management had indicated as far as quarterly update in April goes. Moving on, we have two companies from the cinema space. We have Inox Leisure, where revenues declined 22% for the fourth quarter, with a net loss of 82 crores versus a profit of 48 crores. Needless to say, the top line was impacted because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown. Because of that, margins also increased because of invocation of force majeure clause under the respective lease agreements. The company, however, did add 17 screens in the quarter gone by. Moving on to PVR, revenues declined 23%, not unlike Inox Leisure's, and posted a net loss of 75 crores versus a net profit of 46 crores on a year-on-year basis. Its movie ticket sales declined 27% and food and beverages sales declined 25% as well, but the company also added 24 screens in the quarter gone by. Remember, the board of PVR has approved raising of 300 crores via rights issue. Today, we watch out for Hero MotoCorp, eClerx Services and Team Lease Services as far as earnings are concerned. We also have an update from India's largest public sector bank, State Bank of India, which has reduced its MCLR by 25 basis points and base rate by 75 basis points across various tenors with effect from June 10th, that is tomorrow. Its one-year MCLR now stands at 7% and base rate stands at 7.4%. And in an update from Affle India, it is set to acquire full control in Appnext. It will acquire 66.6% initially for an amount which is undisclosed, with a clear path to acquire 100% on attainment of mutually agreed growth targets. Appnext is a Singapore-based online platform, and the platform recommends content for online users. Now, these are just some of the stocks we can watch out for as we move into trade today, but don't forget to go through our morning edition of All You Need to Know only on BloombergQuint.com.
Thanks, Agam. Well, that's all we have for you in this podcast, but as always, there's a lot more on the website BloombergQuint.com, so don't forget to check it out. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day and stay safe.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you can listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Pesa Vesa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.